Tim, how you doing today?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm excellent. It's great to have you on the phone.
Yeah, thanks for talking to me.
Well, I know we only have a few minutes, so I'll get started and kind of ask you a little bit about how you wound up with OK Go and those early days.
I've known Damien, the singer, since I was 11 and he was 12, and we met at a summer art camp in northern Michigan. He grew up in Washington, D.C. I grew up in Michigan, but every summer we would come together in northern Michigan at camp and study art and music and theater and all of that. And we just kind of kept in touch throughout the years, as just sort of being best friends and sending mixtapes back and forth to one another. And we always bonded over music, probably more so than anything else. And at a pretty early age, we thought it would be awesome to start a band someday. And we just kind of kept following that pipe dream. And we all went to school, we all went to college, but decided when we're done with college, we're going to finally live in the same city and start a band. And that was in 1998. We started a band with Dan Kanapka, who's our drummer, who I knew from college, and Andy Duncan, who is no longer in the band, but was also a friend from summer camp. So we all lived in Chicago, started OK Go in 1998. I think we started playing in 99. The rest is kind of history. I don't know how much more you want. But we basically played as a local band in Chicago for about 2.5 years, and then we were signed to Capitol Records for about 10 years and put out 2.5 records, more or less, on their label. The third record that we put out on Capitol, we eventually got back once we left Capitol, and we started our own label called Piracy in 2010, I think it was. And so we re-released our third record of The Blue Color of the Sky on our new label, Piracy, and now we're getting ready to release our fourth studio album on Piracy, and we remain independent to this day.
Yeah, and it seems like you guys really hit the road pretty hard and toured a lot in those early years. What are some of your memories of that time?
Yeah, gosh, pretty much every record we've put out so far, we've been on the road for close to 2.5 years, and gosh, my memories of it are, I remember Canada in February, just super cold, in a van that didn't have winter tires. And then I remember playing in Birmingham, Alabama in 2004, playing with the Vines, and it being so hot and literally sitting in a refrigerator after the show because it was the only place to get cool. They didn't have air conditioning in the club we were playing. So it's weird. I have all these really kind of extreme memories of things. A lot of it is either the things that stand out most to me are either extreme weather that we played through or really good meals that we ate in Belgium or something like that. Whenever anyone asks you how was your tour, or where was your favorite spot, it's always wherever I had the best meal. So it's well, I really liked Barcelona. I don't know, somewhere outside of Atlanta was awesome because they had great barbecue. So it's funny. It's weird how much your environment and the things that you're going through at the time make you remember certain shows. And maybe that makes sense. Maybe that just makes sense because it's the most human moments are the ones that I remember the most. But it's always been fun, and it's always been a lot of work. Touring, and we're getting ready to do it again starting next week, basically.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit? You have the new album "Hungry Ghosts" coming out. Is that going to be any change of pace from the last stuff, or what can we expect from that?
I think it actually is somewhat a change of pace from any of the albums we've done before. I think central to it still is very much a 4-person rock band, but this time around it's a super kind of modern and electronic take on rock and roll. And so a lot of what's on the record are parts that we may have recorded live, but then ended up getting heavily manipulated afterwards. like manipulated and processed and then kind of put back together in an arrangement. And so more so than ever, the four of us, once we were done actually recording parts, the four of us just had our own like Pro Tools stations, and whatever it was that any of us were inspired by in the songs, we would just say like, like I really like, will you give me, I want stems to the drums here because I've got an idea of how I want to manipulate the drums or process them, and and someone would take the bass and mess with it until it sounded like something we just hadn't heard before in our music. So I think very generally speaking, it's sort of this modern and sort of surreal take on the records we've made in the past. And I really like it. On top of all of that, it's also maybe the songs are maybe the most immediate that they've ever been, and like simple and immediate. And so in that sense, it feels like the most pop sounding record we've ever made.
Yeah, I know you guys went through the PledgeMusic route, and do you think that's kind of the way that more bands will be releasing albums now in the future, kind of bypassing the major labels and doing more of the grassroots style?
Yeah, I think Pledge, like crowdsourced funding is definitely like a way that bands will need to go in the future, because not only has it always been difficult to get the attention of a major label, but major labels just don't have the type of cash flow anymore, and so it's very hard, I think, for a young band to find the seed money to do the things that a band needs to do and to be able to afford to do. It's very hard to find people that will invest at sort of like on the ground level, and so crowdsource funding is a great way for bands to try to raise funds so that they can go on a tour of some sort, or so they can afford to get their record mixed. It's hard though, because we had the benefit of having been on a major label for 10 years, and so that's loaned us the money to be able to kind of cultivate a following, and when we were ready to leave, we were able to take our following with us. But when you don't have that initially, it's just incredibly difficult. But I think Pledge is certainly a good resource for young bands. But I still recognize that it's, even though there's the resource there, it's still tough for an unheard of band to get people to want to invest in them.
Sure. It seems like, as far as releasing your music, OK Go seems like they're okay with people downloading it for free or paying what you want, and you guys have kind of been outspoken about anti-piracy software and that sort of thing. We've obviously had musicians on the show who have the exact opposite viewpoint, but can you kind of give us maybe your official stance on that?
I think, probably the most important thing to us is that people hear the music and like the music, and we hope that inspires them to want to come see your show, or invest in us in whatever way they see fit. I fully recognize that, it used to be that people used to spend a lot of money on music, and that was great for musicians. But it's just like there's nothing OK Go or anyone else can really do to stop the trend and of people just getting their music from wherever they're going to get it now. Like once things turned into ones and zeros, it was sort of like game over as far as like, people having to pay for music anymore. And of course we would love for people to pay for our music. That would be awesome. And some people still do, and we're grateful for that. But, I think we'd be fools to think that, that we're going to be able to stop the ones who don't. And, still for the people who, I feel like for the people who find our music on some sort of free site or download it however they get it, I'm still glad that they have it, at the end of the day. And, the hope is that they'll figure out a different way to maybe invest in us someday. And if they don't, then I hope they enjoy the music. Yeah.
Well, and as far as OK Go, you guys seem to have really adapted to using YouTube to your advantage. Obviously, you had a big hit with the Here It Goes Again video with the treadmills, and had a lot of other, pretty successful videos on YouTube. Is that something you guys are conscious of, that you try to make an effort to get things out on YouTube, or do you just kind of fall into it?
We certainly fell into YouTube originally. It's like, that was what, like 2005, 2006, and at that point the internet was still, I feel like, this new space for art. Basically, like, people were just becoming comfortable with using the internet as gallery space almost. And it just so happened that we were a band at that time, that we were making videos just like every other band, except that we sort of spent a little bit more time on on some kind of crazy ideas than like the average band does. And it just, we were lucky that at the time there was this new thing called YouTube, and they had searched us out because they saw our backyard dance video to our song "A Million Ways," and that was something that we did kind of for ourselves, that our friends passed around online, and it kind of took off and went viral a little bit. And when that did, we then decided, like, there seems to be something to this. Maybe we should do this on purpose next time, and we'll come up with a crazier concept. And that was the treadmill video. I don't think we had any idea at the time how well that video would do on YouTube, but we didn't even know what YouTube was at the time. We had just heard it's like, oh, it's this place where anyone can upload a video and anybody can watch it. And so it seemed like a great place to just kind of like make stuff and share stuff at the time. And so, of course, like, we're definitely conscious of it now, just because the videos have done really well in that space. It's a great place to share, I think. And as people who make things, we love to share things too.
Yeah, definitely. And again, the new album, Hungry Ghosts, coming out in October, and you guys have a show coming up at the Fine Line Cafe in Minneapolis. What can we expect from the show? Do you guys have anything in store for the live shows, or any secrets you can let us know about?
We're working on a fairly multimedia show at the moment. If everything goes right, there will hopefully be some kind of like crazy optical illusions, a lot of really interesting video, some performances that the crowd may not totally expect from us, some sort of like non-traditional performances, and we may try to make some music with the crowd, things like that. So we've got a bunch of different things we're experimenting with right now, and like I said, hopefully if it all works out, we'll be bringing that show to Minneapolis.
Awesome. We're definitely looking forward to it. Again, Tim, thanks for being on with us. Is there anything you want to leave the listeners with? Any final thoughts?
Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, every time someone asks me that, all of a sudden I have no thoughts. But thank you for listening. I hope to see you all in Minneapolis.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks a lot, Tim, for being on.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, you too. Bye.